Hey, welcome back everybody. This is Tutorial Tuesdays with Sean Marcano. Have you ever wanted to make social media flyers or social media designs or content that was aware of the social media guidelines? Well, today's tutorial, we're going to cover on how to make social media flyers and social media designs. Check it out. All right, so we're gonna open up Photoshop and we're gonna press new, and each social media platform has their own style, or I would say their size guide. So for Instagram, which is a popular place for flyers and party flyers, club, etc, they fit a size, and we all see the square size, but they also have several other sizes. So Instagram.com upload size, and each website has their own file size, or I guess image size that they have. And here it says they switched from the original 640 by 640 on July 2015 and switched over to 1080 pixels by 1080 pixels. They also have two other sizes. So they have the 1080 by 1080, 1080 by 1350, and then they have a more horizontal Instagram image, which is 1080 by 566. More often than not, the 1080 by 1080 works perfectly fine. It's a 1:1 ratio. And what we're gonna do is have a 1080 by 1080 picture, and you want to use a resolution of 72. 72 is for screens, not printing. So printing, you want to put 300, and for screens, you're gonna use 72. Let's create this. Make sure it's on pixels, and create. Okay, so now we're left with a 1:1 screen or canvas here, artboard, and there's oftentimes a lot of overly used styles in flyer designs. So we're gonna go back to Instagram, and oftentimes they use the complete portion of the flyer, whole square size, and cover designs for music, albums, they use the same template, square, and on some flyer designs, they have a popped out flyer with other flyers in the background. Now, we're going to cover both styles. This is the style that I'm speaking about. It's popped out, this background. And this can easily be done. So today's tutorial is going to be fairly quick, but I feel it's necessary to cover because sometimes I see failed attempts at flyer designs. So let's create something simple. We're going to try out the 1:1 full canvas size flyer design. And it continues to change my fonts. Okay, let's try out Ash. And we're going to resize this, holding down Alt and scroll wheel. Going to back up, and we're going to reduce the size so it fits nicely right here in the edge. Just off the edge. One thing my professor told me is if you're gonna put it there, might as well just take it out. So think of the details as you're making this and what to keep and what not to keep. This white portion is something that needs to be taken out. So just move it down, holding down Shift and right down button. This is covering the left side of this canvas. So let's get some color back here, and we're gonna color this entirely like a nice light pink. And now in some cases, when you can't see what you have on your brush or what tool you have, your caps lock can possibly be enabled. So disable that, and you can press Alt and right click and drag to left and right to enlarge and reduce the size of your brush, and you can paint this in. I love doing that more so than just pressing G, the paint bucket, and just painting it in. I feel like it has more of a I don't know, it feels different. All right, and then I want a darker portion down here. I like painting my gradients. Sometimes I get not better results, but different results. I get to control it more versus it being automated with the gradient tool. And I want to change my text to white. Try out a square here. So I seen a design here that worked, that I really liked, was that border on the text. But I want to take that and use it. This motivated me to try out something like this. So we're going to take the square tool, or the shape tool rather, rectangle, and draw out a nice border here. Get rid of this fill color and change this to white. Increase the stroke size to perhaps 20. See how it looks. Let's try 25. I'm weird, so I go holding down shift and scroll click. I like by 10s and 5s. I rarely ever do anything with 3, 2. It's just the weird side of me. I don't know. All right, and I want to take out some of the border here. So instead of me deleting it and doing permanent damage to the layer, I'm going to use a mask layer and removing it by pressing B, my brush tool, and using colors black and white. So I'm going to increase the hardness of the brush by holding down Alt and right click again and dragging downwards and upwards. You can change the hardness of your brush. So it has a hard edge, and I can take out some of this border here when I have black enabled. Doesn't work with other colors, and I'm gonna make sure that it takes out portions that are on the text. Okay, perfect. And I'm gonna put a drop shadow on this. See how that looks? No, it doesn't look good. Try an inner shadow. Increase the size, see what it does. Oh, it sets a lighter color, put it to normal. And change the size of this. Choke. Does it make any changes? Oh, my shadow's on white. Make sure it's on black. Okay. I'm gonna reduce this size. Don't like the way it looks. All right. Oftentimes when you're making stuff, it's very experimental, at least for me. So you'll see me do some things and not like it, and I'll go back and retract. So I like the way this is kind of coming along. I'm gonna put these in a group by pressing Shift and left click, Control G, put them in a group. I'm gonna duplicate or double click, and then I'm gonna change the color overlay. And I'm gonna find a color that goes well with pink, blue, light blue, something to still pop. Once again, I'm still experimenting, trying to find my form, what's gonna work, what's not gonna work. And let's actually put a name here. I don't know, popular rapper Fix9. Okay. That's gonna bother me, but it's cool, you know? Okay, and let's highlight this. I actually want to do something different, so I'm gonna take this out of the group. Control A to select all. I'm gonna copy the same color here, but oh, oops. Same color here. I'm gonna select the 6, make it white, and the overlay, instead of an overlay on this, I'm gonna do a gradient overlay. And I'll speak on gradient overlays and what they can do to your text. I can do that in 1 second. So instead of having a color overlay, I'm gonna remove it, use the gradient, put it on normal, and change the colors. So from blue to white, I'm gonna reverse it. So trying out something here. And say there's some text here. So this is filler text. I'm gonna change this to say black. Change the color of the font. So, or not the size of the font. Another thing that I also see in flyers that are messed up or flyers with poor design is their hierarchy. And things are competing too much, or there's a lack of design. If things are going to compete, it has to be for a purpose. A lot of times things are competing with no purpose at all, and that's horrible for design. But of italics, I'm going to caps everything. So if you've ever wanted to know how to do this, you go to the character portion. If it's not enabled, go to Windows, scroll down, and you should see character here. We're going to enable this toolbar, and then I'm going to put caps on instead of retyping it all. I want something a bit thin, so we're going to try Bebas, which is one of my favorite fonts. Bebas New Regular, and reduce the size down to around 18. Control 1 to get a full real pixel size. We're going to enlarge this a bit more. Okay, so I'm heavy left on my flyer design, using the entire screen or the entire canvas. And say I'm gonna be doing a 6ix9ine is gonna be performing, so a performance, and the title of the event, or blah 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 blah, presents. And once again, we're not gonna have things that compete against each other unless it goes well with the design. I'm gonna reduce the size, not too much. And I want to have a purpose for the way things are laid out. So I'm going to think about all things of design. Right now I'm thinking about balance. So your flyers need to have some sort of balance, and I want these things to align here. So I'm very big on alignment. Let's say it's Treyway. Treyway presents. Okay, so they're presenting this. 6ix9ine's gonna be coming out. You see that it's very heavy left, pops out, and so I want these things to compete, or at least to balance. So I'm gonna test out how they look in white. Okay, we're gonna try out this one in white. Now balance also affects color. That's why one reason why when I'm making logos, I like to make them in black and white first to get a feel for the balance, and then play around with the color to get an understanding of where things would be. All right, so I like the way it looks in white. It balances off the baby blue, or not the baby blue, then the electric blue here. And we're gonna put a picture of 6ix9ine. Let's type it in, 6ix9ine image. Find a nice PNG of him. I don't feel like cropping out anything, and this seems to work. So let's save an image. Other works, put it in my downloads folder. We're gonna copy this and put it in Photoshop. Now PNGs are transparent background photos, and I like the way this looks here. I'm gonna see if I can find a way to just have him here behind the border, not in the group. Okay, so it seems to be working here, and overall, not saying it's the best design, but as far as balance is concerned and motion, those parts of the design are working. There's motion as far as you're reading 6ix9ine to the left, you move to the right, Treyway presents, and come down, picture of him. So it's coming full circle. You want the person's eye to come around, or if you're wanting a flyer to read straight across from top to bottom, that's another way that their motion would work. So sometimes they'll have text here, more something here, text, and they won't compete. So you have something big up here, and this is how you block out design. Then something there, and something like this. A little portion down here in the bottom. This is how you block out design. And I was doing some rough iteration of design. So now let's work towards a flyer design that we've seen before, where it shows a flyer with other flyers in the background. And say Let's delete this. All this, gone, 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 gone. All right, so now we're left with a white background from our artboard. And we're gonna create a more rectangular flyer or rectangular image coming down the middle. And these purple pink guidelines, pink, violet, magenta. I have my shape here, and we're gonna make this green. Oh, it's not green there, green here. Whatever, okay. I put a gradient on this. Put it on color dodge. Or how would it look? Okay, that's blending options in total. Gradient overlay, and we're gonna put multiply. And reverse it. All right. So we're gonna press Control A and align. This is very important. One thing I don't see is people aligning when they're making their flyers. And that is a must, because you don't want things to think like, if your flyer is to the left and you have 2 parts of empty space to the sides, people are going to pay attention to that. And it goes towards the designer's cleanliness and their eye for detail. It's horrible. It's horrible practice for design. We're gonna align here. Everything's centered, and now we have this centered flyer here. We're gonna put some text. So perhaps top would be Sean, and we're gonna put this in white. Control T. Large this. Actually, I'm gonna change this. Put Senpai. And one thing I was talking about with gradients that is very, very, very important is that you can make text pop. So right now the text looks very flat. So when you enable something like gradient, and you have to be very, very, very careful with this. I have a template of it right here. Those are one thing. That's one thing that I do to make a shortcut for my commonly used things. So basically it's a light gray with a more bright white, pure white, and another white. And sometimes you can change the color of this white down to gray, but I want it to be some sort of white here. Perfect. You can change the scale of this, make it look more metallic with a very sharp highlight down the middle. Or you can enlarge the scale back to 100. And you have a better form of text where it looks more like it's popping out versus that it's there and standing still. So this is without the gradient, with the gradient, without it, with it. The text just appears better. You can do this for a lot of things of text, a lot of styles of text where it looks like it's popping out, or that it gives it some more character. You can do it with even different colors, not just white. So say it's going to be red. You want red text on green. Now your green, you would put a darker shade. Well, you want a darker shade of red, pardon me. So we're going to select this, drag it out, add another node here, and delete this. Double click, and we're going to decrease that red. So not too dark, just a couple notches down. And we're going to press OK. Okay. And it just gives it a different effect versus it being a solid red. So we're going to change this back to red, actually back to white that I had it before. Okay. And added on with the gradient overlay, we're going to add a drop shadow. So not to overdo it with the drop shadow. Just gives it a bit more character as far as text. And this is all subjective, so you can decide whether you want to apply these. These are just some commonly used practices for flyers. And say I wanted to give it some sort of warp, just to make things different. There's a bunch of different options here. Wave, flag, arch is one. And we're gonna keep that there. Just gives it some character and a different view as far as how you want to present your text or your information. And everything's not just going horizontal and boring. Have some character, have some personality, but it has to have some thought as to why you're doing that in the first place. And we're gonna add some shapes here just to give it some more character. And we're gonna put this over the bottom rectangle layer. And put the other shapes solid white, more of a off-white. We're gonna adjust the shapes where they're positioned. Gonna press Ctrl J to duplicate in the same place, and press Ctrl T and move it. Okay. Now we have some shapes to break down the original shape, and here makes no sense, but it will in a second. So you change the blending options to say screen, try multiply. Multiply might not work. Occlusion, hard mix, soft light. Soft light doesn't look too bad. And we're gonna drop the opacity down, say 23. Now let's try do the same here. Soft light. And we're gonna come down to around 53. Okay, so now we have some shapes here that are kind of giving us some room to play and giving us ability to give some personality and some life to this flyer. Now, these are what you can say. Now, this is what you can say might not be used in a party flyer. Maybe could so. Maybe you can adjust them perhaps. And right now, if we were to get rid of the white background in the back, you would see some white edges here along from this original shape. So we're going to press Alt left click in between these layers, and now they're only affecting the layer beneath it, right? So they're only affecting this original rectangle layer. And we still have our original rectangle. Now we're going to add some text. Say it's Senpai Studios. And we don't want to compete the original text, and we're going to put it right underneath it. We're going to copy the layer style of our Senpai, and we're going to paste it right onto the Studios. So did you see what had happened here? Added the same effect here to Studios. And we're going to continue adding more information and say, looking for members. July 23, 19. Now this is all the information I want to present here. So I'm going to separate these two text layers, and we're going to put them where we feel they fit. Overall, to my eye, this looks like it aligns, but probably not. Where this lines up. Okay. And we're going to put this text here and enlarge it right here at the bottom. Now this is a poor design choice, having a thin piece of color. So it's either take it off where it gives it more negative space to go through, or inside with some room to breathe. Okay, this is not the best designed flyer, but hey, for the sake of this tutorial, I guess it's gonna have to do. So we're gonna press Control G. This is something that I do, and I just call it guts, the guts of the flyer. And we're gonna duplicate this, and we're gonna right click, convert to smart object, and I'm gonna hide the original layer. So now everything is here, and I have the freedom to do as I please with this here flyer. Or another practice that I do is I can delete this. I can press, make sure these are, okay, perfect. I can press Control A, or actually I can select wherever, okay, I can select. I can select the flyer. Then on a separate layer, go to Image, Apply Image, press OK, hide the original flyer. Now I have a image here that I have free control over. And I make it a smart object, convert to smart object, and I duplicate it 3 times, or 2, depending on the look. And the flyer that's up above, I either reduce it in size, reduce or enlarge the one in the background. To do something like this. There's some trim here that I forgot to remove, but it's a tutorial, so it's okay. And put a drop shadow, increase the size, spread, probably the opacity. Since I made it a smart object, I can change this back to its original size without losing any kind of resolution. I want to enlarge it right here to the center. If the white is really messing you up or bothering you, you can press a mask and select using M, drag, go to the corner, select that edge, and you can remove it. Okay, those bother me a lot. Perfect. All right, with the back layer, I can then press Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and apply. Now, since it's a smart layer, it applies a smart filter. So now I can go back to that Gaussian layer, that Gaussian blur that I added, and I can change it. So I can make it super blurry, or I can make it just 0.6 amount of blur. I wanted to make it somewhat blurry where you can't but kind of can see it. And then double click on the layer, press pattern, and apply a diagonal line pattern, and increase the size, or the scale, pardon me, to give it some more character in the background. Sometimes I put multiply, normal, there's different things, but most of the time I just leave it on multiply. I can put on color burn, depending on what the look I'm going for. And that seems to work out perfectly fine. So this is a social media flyer that I can put up at any time. And if you have a personal logo, places to place your logo are the bottom left, bottom right, rarely in the top right and top left. Typically just leave on the bottom right or the bottom left, or dead center if there were space there. So it all depends on your design. Sometimes people put it right on the tippy top. That's personally up to you, the artist, or the person creating. And I want to thank everybody for checking out today's Tutorial Tuesday. And this is how you make social media flyers for Instagram and much more. And once again, I want to thank you guys for checking out today's video. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Please like, comment, and subscribe to keep up with more updates on Sean Marcano TV.